Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show. The cargo of this interstellar merchant ship is some special ores, rare metals, and rare treasures in the starry sky. If you are interested, you can take it, and I can give you some discount. The core members of the Tianyuan business group are all very straightforward people. Although they are the core members of the interstellar business group, they are not the kind of arrogant and unreasonable people. Su Yan also admires them very much. They do have such qualities and characters that they are suitable for doing business. If these interstellar merchants are a violent temper, then there is no business to talk about. When these members of the Tianyuan business group heard Su Yan's words, they were immediately stunned. This interstellar merchant ship is actually going to take out a part of the goods to exchange, so I am afraid there will be a lot of precious goods on this interstellar merchant ship. If you trade such a lot of things, you can definitely get rich harvests. He also wanted to purchase some interstellar merchant ships. He didn't intend to get too much from the interstellar trade, this time he just wanted to trade. We don't have many things, but we can give you some discounts. We can give you a 10% discount on the goods on these merchant ships. A core member of the Tianyuan merchant group said. 10% off? Hearing the words of this core member of the Tianyuan business group, Su Yan was slightly stunned, and his eyes lit up immediately. 10% off, this is definitely a very good price. 10% off, which is equivalent to about twice the income they can take out in a year. There are also many benefits. The 10% discount is a very good deal for Su Yan. Good. Then we will take 10% off. Su Yan nodded and agreed. The core members of the Tianyuan business group had a satisfied look on their faces when they heard Su Yan's words. Su Yan nodded, and then said, "You have to be careful, there are many interstellar adventurers in the interstellar space, we can protect you for a while, but you'd better pay attention, we don't know, those interstellar adventurers is not also near here. Don't worry." The core members of the Tianyuan business group said one after another. In their view, those interstellar adventurers, that is, those low-level interstellar adventurers, are not worth mentioning at all in their eyes. The core members of the Tianyuan business group are often attacked by interstellar adventurers during their interstellar journey. They have already trained a pair of piercing eyes, so they are also very vigilant during their interstellar journey. This time, they also prepared some interstellar weapons. They are very powerful. Even the interstellar adventurers are not opponents in their eyes, so they are not afraid. During the interstellar journey, they killed a lot of interstellar adventurers, and the interstellar adventurers were very afraid when they encountered them. I think so. There are a few people in our business group, and their strength is not bad. It is better for them to accompany you on this interstellar merchant ship. In this way, you also have some security. The core members of the Tianyuan business group said, Su Yan nodded and agreed. He led the core members of the Tianyuan merchant group and flew in the direction of the interstellar merchant ship. Su Yan looked at the interstellar merchant ship with a smile on his face. The goods loaded on this merchant ship were definitely very good things. This interstellar merchant ship is the exclusive interstellar merchant ship for the core members of the Tianyuan merchant group. Among this merchant ship, in addition to the core members of these interstellar business groups, there are many members who can also obtain good resources on the merchant ships. Most of the goods loaded on this merchant ship are the resources of some planets, and there are also many rare things. These things Su Yan also needed, so they did not reject the proposal of this interstellar merchant ship. Are there any commodities in your merchant ships? Su Yan asked. The members of the Tianyuan merchant group said, inside the interstellar merchant ship, there are all kinds of goods, but most of the goods we do not have, but occasionally buy some materials in it, but most of the materials are used come to trade, so the price is not cheap. That's it. Su Yan was also a little disappointed when he heard this, but he still decided to see what cargo was in the merchant ship first. After all, he has no experience in interstellar trade and needs to explore slowly. There are a lot of goods on their merchant ships, and there are many precious resources. In their merchant ships, there are also some shops that can sell some goods to those interstellar adventurers. By the way, there should be quite a few interstellar adventurers in your business group, and there should be interstellar adventurers on your merchant ships, Su Yan asked suddenly. He is not very clear about interstellar trade, so he wants to know some information about interstellar trade. Hearing Su Yan's question, the members of the Tianyuan business group showed a look of doubt on their faces. What's the matter? Don't you guys know about interstellar trade? Su Yan asked suspiciously. Point 0. Of course we know about interstellar trade, but we don't like to contact these people. We are only responsible for making money. As for the rest, it has nothing to do with us. No wonder then. After hearing this, Su Yan also understood that the core members of the Tianyuan business group did not want to have anything to do with these people. However, I have heard about the interstellar trade. I heard that the development of the interstellar trade is very fast. No matter what it is, as long as it is sold to the interstellar trade, it will definitely be sold out by them. A core member said. His words were filled with strong envy. They don't have any resources on their merchant ships, so they don't dare to contact these interstellar adventurers. Otherwise, those interstellar adventurers will definitely take advantage of the emptiness and steal their merchant ships. At that time, they could lose a lot of money. Exactly. Su Yan also nodded in agreement. Interstellar adventurers do have a very high status in the interstellar trade, but they also have their own bottom lines. Once they reach their bottom lines, they will kill them without hesitation. That's why they walk among the stars. After listening to Su Yan's explanation, the faces of the members of the Tianyuan business group also became solemn. The interstellar adventurers are not like them, they are a group of vicious bandits. When they act, they don't worry about so much loss. If interstellar adventurers knew that these people were selling some junk resources in the interstellar, I am afraid they would not easily let them go. In the opinion of the core members of the Tianyuan business group, they should also find some suitable business groups to cooperate with, and Su Yan is undoubtedly the best choice. He not only has great strength, but also has a lot of resources, if they can cooperate with them. Then the resources carried in their merchant ships will definitely increase a lot, and they will not worry about being robbed. Su Yan looked at the expressions of these people and shook his head slightly in his heart. The members of the Tianyuan business group were obviously a group of business idiots. They didn't understand everything about interstellar trade at all, and they were the main members of a small merchant ship. Do you know the 140 rule of interstellar trade? Su Yan asked suddenly. Naturally, our Tianyuan business group also has fixed rules in interstellar trade. No matter what interstellar adventurers do, they must follow the rules of interstellar trade and cannot violate the rules in interstellar trade. That core member said. Oh, so it is. Hearing this, Su Yan nodded secretly in his heart. He really did not expect that these Tianyuan business groups still have such a rule. But there are some special goods in your business group? Su Yan continued to ask. Of course there is. The core member of the Tianyuan business group said. What? You take it out and see. Su Yan said immediately. He really wanted to know what treasures were on the merchant ships of the Tianyuan merchant group. These things are things that our merchant ships do not have, but their quality is much higher than that of the commodities on our merchant ships, and these things can also be sold in the interstellar trade. The member of the Tianyuan business group said. Su Yan's eyes lit up when he heard the words, and he looked at the members of the Tianyuan business group. The core member of the Tianyuan merchant group opened the warehouse of the merchant ship and took out the wooden boxes one by one. After opening the boxes, Su Yan found that the wooden boxes contained all kinds of precious goods. Some are rare ores, some are high-grade ores. There are so many precious materials in your business group, it is really not easy. Su Yan exclaimed. Those are the assets of our business group. Although our business group is only a small business group in the interstellar trade, our investment in commodities is also very large, so these things cost our business group a lot. Just got the price. The core member of the Tianyuan business group said. Su-yen nodded, looking at the ore inside these wooden boxes. He felt very satisfied. These things are all top-level goods in the interstellar trade. It is very difficult for you to get these things. These things are the top goods of the interstellar trade. I think you should also have deep information channels. Su-yen asked. That's natural. Our Tianyuan business group is very good at investigating interstellar trade, and we have a clear grasp of the news in interstellar trade. If there is any news, we will tell you. The core members of the Tianyuan business group quickly agreed. Well, let me handle these things, Su-yen said with a smile. He was about to start collecting these things. No, these things, our business group will naturally take care of it. Don't bother, Your Excellency, these things, only our own business group is qualified to use. The core members of the Tianyuan business group quickly refused. Well, if that's the case, then forget it, we acquired these ores. Su-yen shrugged and said. Hearing that Su-yen was willing to buy these ores, the core member of the Tianyuan business group suddenly showed excitement on his face. He did not expect that Su-yen would actually be willing to help them buy them. If Su-yen can help them acquire those interstellar adventurers, then their losses in the merchant ships will naturally be able to make up for it. It can even be said that this time they made a profit. The value of these ores is very huge. There may not be so many high-level ores in a planet. These things are the fighting supplies of interstellar adventurers. After they enter the interstellar trade, they also need to consume resources. Therefore, in the interstellar trade, large quantities of high-grade ores are stored. They entered the interstellar trade this time to exchange some resources, just in case. Now, Su-yen is willing to exchange the resources in these interstellar trades, which is naturally the best. Thank you, Your Excellency. The core members of the Tianyuan business group bowed and saluted Su-yen. Su-yen waved his hand and motioned to the core members of the Tianyuan business group to wave the gift. Immediately, he directly left the merchant ship of the Tianyuan merchant group. This trip on the merchant ship has finally ended, and the merchants in this merchant ship can finally breathe a sigh of relief. During the time on the merchant ship, their hearts have been greatly stimulated. After Su-yen left the merchant ship of the Tianyuan merchant group, he controlled the Hyperion and sailed towards his headquarters in Star Trade. This time, Su-yen also disbanded the Tianyuan business group he was in. After all, after staying in the Starry Sky trade for so long, he also wanted to get out as soon as possible. The core members of the Tianyuan business group also wanted to take the opportunity to go out for a walk. After all, they have been staying here for a long time, and they should go out to get some air and relax. Su-yen was driving the Hyperion, quickly traversing the vast star field, all the way to the goal. This time, Su-yen is going to go to other stores of interstellar trade in 2.6 to see if there are any weapons suitable for him. At the same time, he also wants to know some rules of interstellar trade, as well as those big ones in interstellar trade. News of forces and business groups. After all, in the interstellar trade, it is very chaotic. Here, anything will happen. Once in danger or being bullied, it will be troublesome. Su-yen must know some information in the interstellar trade in order to cope with the next situation, which is very important. The scale of the interstellar trade is very large, and there are all kinds of people in it. Therefore, Su-yen must be cautious in it. The Hyperion quickly sailed out of the Starry Sky trade range and entered a vast and boundless interstellar space. This interstellar space is also a starry sky, but not in the universe, but in an extremely dangerous area. It is a taboo area in the interstellar trade, and no one dares to set foot here. Here, you can find all kinds of high-grade ores. What kind of high-grade ores you want, you can get what kind of high-grade ores. Of course, if you don't want to stay in this place, you can choose to go elsewhere. At this moment, the sound of the system suddenly rang. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining some information in the interstellar trade. The interstellar trade can be said to be the most complicated trade in the entire interstellar. In this interstellar space, you can see any shop, any commodity, any weapon. As long as you can buy anything, you can get it, and the price is very cheap. When Su Yan heard this, a look of surprise appeared on her face. In the interstellar trade, you can see a lot of things, and the price is very cheap. This made Su Yan a little shocked. These things are very difficult to obtain in the outside world. What kind of place is interstellar trade? How could people be treated like this? Su Yan wondered in his heart. In his memory, various commodities in the interstellar trade have very strict systems. For example, if you buy something, you must pay the corresponding price before you are eligible to buy it. These items simply cannot be purchased without paying a price. In the interstellar trade, some merchants will sell their goods to you, and the price is very fair, and they also hope that you can buy more precious things. However, in the interstellar trade, there are also some merchants who will cheat you for a sum of money when you are not paying attention, and this kind of thing is commonplace and very normal in the interstellar trade. Therefore, you must be very careful when doing things in the interstellar trade. It seems that I need to pay more attention to my own safety in the future. Su Yan thought to himself. Although he has great strength, in the interstellar trade, who knows whether those traders will use despicable means to harm themselves. In the interstellar trade, Su Yan has too many enemies, and he is still a very powerful enemy, so he must be careful. Su Yan drove the Hyperion, shuttled in the starry sky trade, and kept observing the surrounding environment. In the interstellar trade, he also found many starships, and among these spaceships, there were traces of many commodities. For example, some interstellar ships, flying saucers, warships, etc., these commodities are very rare. Not only those starships, but also those merchant ships, there are also many in the starry sky trade. The scale of interstellar trade is very large. Su Yan was in the starry sky trade, while observing the surrounding scene, while thinking constantly. The number of these interstellar spacecraft seems to be getting fewer and fewer. Su Yan secretly said. In the starry sky trade, there are fewer and fewer interstellar spaceships. Unlike in the universe, the number of interstellar spaceships is very large and countless, accounting for almost 1/5 of the entire universe. However, in this interstellar trade, there are only a few thousand interstellar spaceships. Just a spaceship. These thousands of interstellar spaceships are very rare, almost not many. And in this interstellar trade, the interstellar spaceship can be deformed, so in this interstellar trade, it is generally a deformed spaceship, not simply a spaceship. Su Yan saw that some spaceships, after the change, can no longer be called spaceships, but become a huge warship, or rather, this is a super-large warship. Such a spaceship can carry a lot of weapons, and its attack power is very terrifying. Such a battleship is nothing in such a huge interstellar trade. Su Yan once saw it with his own eyes in an interstellar spaceship chamber of commerce. In an interstellar spaceship chamber of commerce, there is a very large warship, and its volume is many times larger than the previous spaceship. This warship is loaded with many advanced cargoes. In that battleship, there are hundreds of interstellar mercenaries, and they are also equipped with some armed forces, which can be described as very powerful. It is very common in interstellar trade, but the interstellar spaceships in interstellar trade are basically built by interstellar mercenaries. The commodities here are very rich, but not many people can enjoy these commodities, because only a part of the commodities are sold here, and the remaining part of the commodities must be purchased by others. Su Yan is going to buy those goods in the star trade, and then exchange some weapons in the star trade. Whether it is interstellar merchandise or some commercial secrets, for Su Yan, he needs to know now. In star trade, he must learn to act cautiously. There are very few people here who can be trusted, because everyone here may betray you. Su Yan walked all the way towards those stores. Around those stores, Su Yan could sense the presence of many people. Those breaths were also full of murderous intent, and these people obviously wanted to trick him. However, for him, the 140 strength of those people is not very strong. He really has never been afraid of anyone, because his strength is very powerful. He can easily kill each other. However, in this place, Su Yan didn't dare to be careless. If there was an enemy staring at him secretly, he could attack at any time. In such a huge interstellar trade, there is no transaction. Only powerful forces are competing for some commodities, so there is also a certain danger in this. Therefore, in this, no one can be taken lightly. While Su Yan looked at the surrounding shops, he was also observing the things in those shops. Once he liked it, he would buy it immediately, and this move also caught the attention of many people. Soon, Su Yan took a fancy to the items in the shop. It was a shop with some very strange energy weapons, and these energy weapons were very simple. The goods in the shop, at a glance, knew that they were purchased from other star regions. In such an interstellar trade, it is very rare to be able to buy such items. In Su Yan's view, in such an interstellar trade, such items are definitely scarce items, because such items can be encountered but not sought after. Su Yan did not hesitate and entered the shop directly. These energy weapons are relatively common in this place, and the price is not very high. As long as there are enough crystal coins, they can be purchased. These weapons, for ordinary people, are very rare, but for Su Yan, they are not worth mentioning. He now has a very rich wealth, so he can easily obtain these things. He now has a lot of interstellar spaceships. If he wants, he can change these interstellar spaceships at any time, and then transform them into a battleship. However, such energy weapons are also very expensive. The price of an interstellar battleship is at least around 100 million star coins. The ability to deform, so the price is very high. And such a price is not expensive for those ordinary interstellar mercenaries. Su Yan spent 10 interstellar cards to buy an interstellar spaceship. Su Yan put away his interstellar card and entered the interstellar trade. He had just entered the interstellar trade, and the gazes of those interstellar mercenaries immediately shifted, and then looked towards Su Yan. In the eyes of those interstellar mercenaries, there is nothing special about Su Yan. But in the eyes of those traders, Su Yan has a unique temperament. They are all traders, and naturally, they can see some ways. Generally speaking, an interstellar mercenary would not enter the store to buy these things. When the vendors looked at Su Yan, they were all surprised. Isn't this young man an interstellar mercenary? It should be an interstellar mercenary, but it doesn't look like it. I feel that he seems to be the leader of those interstellar mercenaries, and the aura on his body is somewhat familiar. It seems to be a leader I know. Well, it is possible. If it is some leaders among the interstellar mercenaries, then I will not feel unfamiliar. The merchants whispered. Is he one of the interstellar mercenaries? It should be a leader among them, otherwise he would not be able to enter the interstellar trade. It seems that he is very rich, and he is really rich to be able to buy these things with the interstellar card. The vendors were talking a lot, but the interstellar mercenaries were all staring at Su Yan very jealously, with a greedy look on their faces, and they hated Su Yan very much in their hearts. At the beginning, they were very envious of those interstellar mercenaries, who possessed unlimited resources and strength, and could purchase a lot of interstellar equipment, as well as those interstellar weapons. But they didn't have that kind of opportunity, otherwise, they would have possessed incomparably powerful strength long ago. They are envious and jealous. What can we buy with the interstellar card? Why can he buy it? Does he also want to have the interstellar card as an interstellar mercenary? This is a joke. An interstellar mercenary sneered again and again. That's right, why didn't we have that chance? He was just lucky. Yes, how can we compare him strength? What can he do? He can't do anything at all. The other interstellar mercenaries also agreed. They had a sarcastic look on their faces. Ha ha ha, that's ridiculous. The interstellar mercenaries laughed. Su Yan stood here, listening to their mocking voices, and a cold smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. His eyes stared at the interstellar mercenaries who laughed at him. Those interstellar mercenaries also felt those icy gazes, and they stopped their mocking voices. They also noticed that the masters of those gazes were staring at them. They were stared so hairy, a chill came to their hearts. What is he doing? Someone asked suspiciously. His eyes were so terrifying, as if he was looking at a dead person. He wants to kill? We are interstellar mercenaries. If he dares to kill us, it will definitely cause trouble. At that time, our interstellar mercenary alliance will never forgive him. Those interstellar mercenaries were all vigilant and looked at Su Yen. At this time, Su Yen said, "You laughed at me like this, and I also laughed at you a few words. From the looks of you, you know that you don't have much knowledge. Your strength, even the most basic mercenaries. It's better, and I have become the manipulator of the interstellar spaceship, you are all ants." What? He's the master of a starship? How could he have such powers? He's only 20 years old? He can control a starship? Who is he? His strength is so powerful, and he also understands the manipulation skills of interstellar spaceships. He can't be just an ordinary person. His identity must be the powerhouse among the interstellar mercenaries. This time, this interstellar trade is expected to cause a fight storm. A merchant frowned and said. Those traders also began to think about this. They also felt that this time, something big would definitely happen. Moreover, they don't understand, what is Su Yan's identity? How could he, a 20-year-old young man, have the right to control an interstellar spaceship? The right to pilot an interstellar spaceship is not something that ordinary people can have. It is usually only owned by interstellar mercenaries. Su Yen is so young that he has the right to pilot an interstellar spaceship, which is too appalling. No matter what his identity is, since he wants to buy those things, then we will rob him, we are not afraid of him, and he has no background, no matter how powerful his background is, he cannot protect him. An interstellar mercenary shouted, and then rushed towards Su Yen. Kill him and snatch the interstellar card in his hand. He even dared to mock us, this time, he will surely die miserably. The other interstellar mercenaries also rushed towards Su Yen. They all wanted to snatch the interstellar card in Su Yan's hand. Snatch the interstellar card in Su Yan's hand. It was a huge sum of money, enough to make them get a lot of wealth, can be exchanged for a lot of resources. Seeing those interstellar mercenaries rushing towards them, Su Yen sneered, then controlled the Hyperion and moved towards those interstellar mercenaries. Boom! The two interstellar battleships collided in the air, making a deafening explosion. A strong shock wave spread out, so that the merchants were all hit by this powerful shock wave. They took a few steps backwards and fell hard to the ground. Those interstellar mercenaries were not feeling well either. They were all hit by Su Yan's interstellar spaceship and vomited blood and flew out. Such a strong strength, this Su Yan's strength is really too strong, we are not his opponents at all. No, we can't stay here any longer, let's run, we're going to tell other interstellar mercenary groups about this. Yes, this Su Yen is so scary, we are no match for him at all. These interstellar mercenaries also knew that they were not Su Yan's opponents, and they immediately turned their heads and ran away. They are not willing to fight Su Yen. Su Yen didn't stop them either. The interstellar mercenaries are just a group of cannon fodder in this place. Su Yen ignored them at all, and Su Yen didn't bother to hunt them down, but looked at the other vendors. Now, do you all still want what I have? Su Yen said with a sneer. No, no, how dare we rob you, we were just joking, I hope you don't mind. Those vendors immediately waved their hands, indicating that they were just joking. Hee hee, you little people, you will lie, when you mocked me just now, I saw that you all looked very proud. Su Yen sneered and said 140. These vendors were nothing but ants in front of Su Yen. Their words were all heard by Su Yen. We dare not, it was all our fault just now, how dare we be so presumptuous in front of you, we will not make similar mistakes in the future. The vendors quickly apologized, they were all afraid that Su Yen would deal with them, and they didn't want to die at the hands of Su Yen. Su Yen looked at the vendors with a sneer on her face. I don't like you people. Su Yen said, left the area directly, and walked towards the other side. Seeing that Su Yen left like this, the vendors breathed a sigh of relief. Their foreheads were full of sweat, and they were all scared out. It's dangerous, fortunately we didn't provoke him, otherwise, we'd be dead. That's right, our lives are also very cherished. If we die here, wouldn't it be a big loss, and we won't be able to find good deals in the future. Yes, we will definitely remember the lesson in the future and will not talk nonsense again. Well, this time it also taught us a lesson. However, what is the identity of this DBCG person? Why is he so powerful? I don't know, but it's definitely not easy. Su Yan listened to their discussion, a sneer appeared on his face. These vendors are really timid as mice. They are all guys who bully the soft and fear the hard. If it wasn't for Su Yan's interstellar card this time, they would not have stood up long ago. They would definitely choose to leave or escape. Far better. These guys are still not worth making friends with, and they are also trash-like existences. Su Yan cursed inwardly, and then left in another way. After Su Yan left, the vendors breathed a sigh of relief. Let me just say, how can this man be so powerful? With so many of us, are we still afraid of him alone? That's right, we have other people. After he is gone, we will spread the news about him and let others deal with him. I see how many people he can deal with alone. Yes, we did a great job this time, we have to deal with him before anyone else comes. I agree, no matter how powerful he is, there is only one person. Those traders began to discuss countermeasures. Su Yan didn't know the intentions of these traders, he controlled the Hyperion and galloped away in the distance. The Hyperion was very fast, sailing on the interstellar ocean. In less than a day, the Hyperion came to a planet very close to the Galactic Empire, and then docked on this planet. Call. The Hyperion was docked on the Hyperion, and Su Yan walked out of the Hyperion, and he glanced at the planet. This is the name of a planet called Arslan Empire. The Arslan Empire? Su Yan murmured with a smile on the corner of his mouth, and then drove the Hyperion towards Arslan City, the capital of the Arslan Empire. The Hyperion was very fast and arrived at the gate of Arslan City in a few minutes. Stop, this is the city gate of the Arslan Empire, and people such as idlers cannot enter. Upon seeing this, the guard stopped Su Yan directly, and then shouted. Su Yan looked at the guards and said lightly, "Get out." What, you dare to let us go away, you are tired and crooked, right? When the guards heard Su Yan telling them to get out of the way, they were furious, and then roared at Su Yan. Go away. Su Yan scolded again, her face sank, and her eyes became cold. When the guard saw this, he suddenly felt a chill. They were still reluctant to leave just like that, because they knew that there was only one Su Yan, and they could take Su Yan down. Good. You wait for me, we will inform His Majesty, and see how His Majesty will deal with you when the time comes. The guard said angrily. No, I'll go see him in person. Su Yan smiled indifferently, these rubbish, dared to threaten him, they just didn't know whether to live or die. Well, since you're going to die, then we're not to blame. The guards snorted coldly and attacked Su Yan. The guards all have powerful combat power, and if they are united together, they can be considered a good combat power. The guards attacked Su Yan together, trying to defeat Su Yan. Boom! The attack of the guards fell on Su Yan's body, but it did not produce any effect. How is this possible? Seeing this, the group of guards suddenly widened their eyes and looked surprised. They did not expect that their joint attack would have no effect. How can that be? Who are you? The group of guards stared at Su Yan and asked. Su Yan glanced at them lightly. Who am I? You don't deserve to know. Su Yan smiled indifferently, then took control of the Hyperion, ready to move on. You have entered the airspace of the Arslan Empire, and you are really impatient. I will report to your Majesty now. When the guards saw this, anger appeared on their faces. Good. I want to see how arrogant you can be. When your Majesty comes down, you will definitely let your Majesty punish you. The guards gritted their teeth. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. Hearing this, Su Yan smiled slightly, but he wanted to see how many waves this group of people could make. At this moment, a voice came. Ha ha ha. I saw an old man in a white robe coming down from the tower. Greet your Majesty. When the guards saw the person coming, they immediately showed respectful expressions on their faces. This old man is the Emperor Rex of the Arslan Empire. He is 1.8 meters tall, with a majestic face and looks like a king, but upon closer inspection, there is a hint of femininity hidden between his eyebrows. Get up, you just said that this person is a foreigner? Rex looked at these guards and said calmly. Yes, your majesty. The group of guards stood up hastily, then nodded to Rex, replied. I don't believe that in the entire universe, there are still people who dare to act wild in the territory of the Arslan Empire. Rex's tone was cold, obviously disgusting with Su Yan. When the guards heard Rex's words, their expressions froze. They were still laughing at Su Yan's incomprehension just now, but they didn't expect their ridicule to be realized so quickly, and they were exposed on the spot. In the heart of this group of guards, an infinite sense of humiliation rose in an instant, and they all wished to find a crack in the ground to escape this sense of humiliation. They also know that it is impossible for Rex to let them go. If they can't get this thing done this time, their future will be ruined. Thinking of this, they suddenly rushed towards Su Yan desperately, trying to stop Su Yan. Roll. Seeing this, Su Yan couldn't help but let out a cold cry, and the Hyperion immediately launched an offensive. The main guns of the Hyperion were muzzled at the guards, and the shells were fired at them. These guards looked at the oncoming shells, panicked one by one, they had no choice. Boom! The Hyperion's shelling bombarded their bodies. The guards were torn apart by the cannonballs, bloody. Hiss! My God, how could his attack be so terrifying? Incredible, this man is so scary. The surrounding passers-by, watching this scene, couldn't help exclaiming. Their faces were full of disbelief, and even some people's legs trembled with fright. They didn't expect that under Su Yan's attack, these people were powerless to fight, and they were killed in an instant. 111. Looking at this scene, Rex's face was ashen, and a murderous look flashed in his eyes. He did not expect that someone would dare to openly provoke his authority. Come on, arrest him and behead him. Rex roared angrily. Soon several guards came up, ready to subdue Su Yan. You ants, are you still trying to hurt me? It's beyond your own power. Su Yan snorted coldly, steered the Hyperion, and rammed towards them. The huge figure of the Hyperion, like a tank, slammed into the guards. Ah! The guards screamed. The Hyperion continued to rush forward, directly smashing through the city wall. Boom! The Hyperion suddenly smashed to the ground, and the city walls of the entire Arslan Empire trembled under this force, as if it would collapse at any time. Looking at the smashed city wall in front of them, all the soldiers of the Arslan Empire were stunned. They looked at the figure standing in the air, unable to say a word. Kr. Rex was also stunned. He looked at Su Yan, and there was a deep fear in his eyes. He never thought that Su Yan would have such a powerful battleship. This warship dared to break into the territory of their Arslan Empire. This is simply not taking Arslan Empire in the eye. What is the Arslan Empire? They have 3 planets, 3 million troops, and dozens of interstellar carriers, which can be said to be invincible. However, now that someone dares to act wildly on the territory of the Arslan Empire, how can Redex endure this? Who are you? How dare you play wild in our Arslan Empire, courting death? Rex looked at Su Yan and asked in a cold tone. Ha ha ha, I just came to provoke you, I just want to demolish your city. Su Yan said with a big laugh, looking extremely arrogant. You wanna die? Rex's face sank suddenly. He had never heard anyone dare to speak to him like this, and Su Yan's attitude was so arrogant that he looked down on the guards of their Arslan Empire. This made him very angry. He, the dignified prince of the Arslan Empire, was looked down upon by a foreigner. How did Redex swallow this breath? Come on, prepare the starship. Redex shouted angrily, waved his hand, and instructed the surrounding guards. Obey. When the surrounding guards heard the words, they bowed in unison and responded. It's a big battle, but it's up to you to let me do it myself? Su Yan smiled indifferently, and then he controlled the Hyperion and attacked towards Rex. 0. Looking at Su Yan's actions, a sneer appeared on the corner of Rex's mouth. Since you are courting death, then I will fulfill you. Stop him for me. Redex shouted loudly, and suddenly, groups of soldiers rushed forward, ready to stop Su Yan and take Su Yan down. Charge me and crush all this rubbish into slag. Su Yan controlled the Hyperion and moved towards the front. The huge gun barrel of the Hyperion was madly shooting at the guards, and fire after another shot into the sky. The firepower on the Hyperion was very ferocious, and the artillery fire, like a rainbow piercing the sun, poured down towards the group of guards who rushed up. Suddenly, those soldiers were beaten up one after another, their deaths were extremely miserable, and blood was splashed everywhere. The interstellar carrier is the strongest battleship of the Arslan Empire. The artillery mounted on the interstellar carriers are all special materials, and they are also their biggest cards. It can be said that as long as these interstellar carriers are there, the Arslan Empire can always stand in the interstellar space. Come on, prepare the interstellar carrier. Redex shouted and instructed the surrounding guards. Obey. The surrounding guards answered in unison. I see where you are running away. Rex looked at Su Yan and said disdainfully. Su Yan was not nervous at all, and even the corners of his mouth rose slightly, with a playful smile. Come on, let me see what skills you have. Seeing this, Rex was even more angry in his heart, which was a blatant insult. Fire me up and beat this kid into bolognese. Rex roared and shouted to the surrounding soldiers. Suddenly, one after another shells were fired towards Su Yan, and the dense artillery fire was overwhelming towards Su Yan. Bug carving tricks. Seeing the oncoming cannonball, Su Yan sneered, and then controlled the Hyperion to dodge to the side. The Hyperion swayed left and right under the control of Su Yan, like a nimble fish, swam away quickly and shuttled in the artillery fire. Although these cannonballs of Redex were powerful, they couldn't harm it at all under the flexible shuttle of the Hyperion. Seeing this scene, Rex frowned and his face was gloomy. He looked at the shells that were constantly spewing fire tongues, gnashing his teeth. This battleship was so cunning that 140 evaded all his artillery shells, making Redex's face even more ugly. This battleship of yours is very good, it can avoid the attack of so many shells from me. However, no matter how much you dodge my attack, it is useless, you must stay. Rex said coldly. I stay here? With these shells, just want to keep me? Su Yan looked at the surrounding shells and said with a sneer. It doesn't matter if it's a trick or not, the important thing is that the warriors of our Arslan Empire will definitely keep you. Rex said with a savage voice, and then gave the order to attack again. When the warriors of the Arslan Empire heard Rex's words, they rushed out of the fortifications one after another, and then moved towards Su Yan's position to outflank. Seeing this, Su Yan raised her eyebrows. The strength of this group of soldiers of the Arslan Empire is indeed very tyrannical. He can easily kill ordinary soldiers, but if he encounters soldiers with interstellar motherships, Su Yan does not dare to provoke them casually. Shoot me down on these Arslan soldiers. Su Yan controlled the Hyperion and charged towards the Arslan soldiers. Get away from me. Su Yan roared and controlled the Hyperion to slam into the group of soldiers, and instantly knocked the group of Arslan soldiers out. Damn, kill him for me. When the Arslan soldiers saw this scene, they were shocked and angry, and glared at Su Yan. But their target was obviously not Su Yan, but the Hyperion. Shoot me. Redex roared, and immediately, one after another, the interstellar carrier shells flew towards the Hyperion. The artillery on the Hyperion fired at the group of Arslan soldiers one by one. Bang! 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 The artillery on the Hyperion fired continuously, one after another, bombarded the surrounding Arslan soldiers, knocking the group of Arslan soldiers to pieces. These Arslan soldiers, their interstellar carrier, although capable of releasing interstellar bullet attacks, were useless in front of the artillery on the Hyperion. The artillery of these Arslan soldiers is too weak. Looking at the artillery of these Arslan soldiers in front of him, Su Yan couldn't help shaking his head. In front of the artillery on the Hyperion, these interstellar bullets are simply vulnerable. However, the main gun of the Hyperion could shoot a 1 million volt high-voltage electromagnetic cannon. Under the control of Su Yan, the 1 million volt high-voltage electromagnetic cannon blasted directly at the soldiers of the Arslan Empire. The destructive power generated by the high-temperature electromagnetic gun instantly blew them into a pile of coke, and blood was sprayed everywhere. No, go back quickly, go back quickly, the artillery of this battleship is too powerful. Looking at the shattered Arslan soldiers who fell to the ground and were blasted by high-temperature electromagnetic cannons, those soldiers were terrified. Boom boom boom. Su Yan controlled the Hyperion and kept shooting at the surrounding Arslan soldiers. The muzzles on the Hyperion were also constantly shifting, constantly bombarding the Arslan soldiers, knocking those Arslan soldiers to pieces. The interstellar artillery shells on the Hyperion kept bombarding, sending a group of Arslan soldiers around. Damn, run away, get out of here. Looking at the scene in front of them, the soldiers of the Arslan Empire shouted in horror, turned around and started to flee desperately. Did this run away? The corners of Su Yan's mouth twitched slightly, revealing a mocking smile. Under his control, the soldiers of the Arslan Empire were defeated steadily. The firepower of the Hyperion is so powerful that it can deal with so many soldiers of the Arslan Empire. Seeing the powerful firepower released by the Hyperion, Arslan's soldiers were also shocked. In the battle just now, they also saw the power of this interstellar carrier, and they knew that if they could not solve this interstellar carrier quickly, they would definitely suffer. Hurry up with the spaceship, take down the Hyperion for me. The Arslan officers shouted. Boom boom boom. One after another, the spaceships blasted towards the Hyperion. Keep firing me. Su Yan controlled the Hyperion and fired fiercely at the group of spaceships. No matter how powerful the artillery they carried, they became vulnerable under his firepower. What? My arm. My leg. A burst of screams resounded throughout the battlefield. Under the bombardment of the Hyperion, the spaceships of the Arslan soldiers were destroyed one after another, and the spaceships exploded in the air. The area shines brightly. No, run away. These Arslan soldiers finally reacted, and they shouted in horror one by one, and began to flee desperately. 2.6 But how could Su Yan let them escape? Under Su Yan's manipulation, he started chasing them. Ships were blown up, and one Arslan soldier was killed. The Hyperion controlled by Su Yan was not damaged in the slightest. This made the group of Arslan soldiers terrified. They were still somewhat confident and thought that they could defeat the Hyperion, but now it seems that they are impossible to defeat. Instead, they were slaughtered by the Hyperion, which made a strong sense of despair rise from the bottom of their hearts. Escape. Run away. Only by living can we have a chance for revenge. A group of Arslan soldiers spoke in succession. Under the offensive of the Hyperion, it was impossible for them to escape. If they did not escape, they would surely die. The Hyperion's firepower is okay, but do you think you'll be able to escape just like that? Keep attacking. Su Yan said lightly. Boom. Following Su Yan's order, the main artillery on the Hyperion exploded, and immediately another interstellar artillery shell smashed to death. Boom. One after another explosion sounded continuously, and the spaceships were bombed. Quick, keep firing interstellar cannonballs. An Arslan soldier couldn't escape, so they started to launch interstellar cannonballs frantically, hoping to stop the Hyperion's attack, but the Hyperion's firepower was so powerful that their interstellar cannonballs couldn't hurt at all. Baryon sense. Damn it. A group of Arslan soldiers saw that their interstellar shells could not cause damage to the Hyperion, and their faces were extremely ugly. They knew that they were sure to die this time. But just when they were desperate and were about to admit defeat, they suddenly discovered a strange thing. None of the Hyperion's shells landed in the spaceship they were riding, and they were all avoided. This result shocked them, But they quickly realized that this Hyperion must have some special device. To destroy it, they could only get close to the battleship and bombard it. So an Arslan soldier took out a boulder and threw it on the Hyperion. The boulder was intercepted by the Hyperion's defense system and did not break it. Seeing this scene, the faces of Arslan's soldiers turned pale. The Hyperion's shield is so strong that our attacks have no effect at all. The group of Arslan soldiers looked at the Hyperion with frightened expressions in their eyes. What should we do? Looking at the Hyperion, an Arslan soldier's face was full of despair. Their interstellar carrier is not the opponent of the Hyperion at all, and the other party has a large number of high-level battleship protection, which is not something they can fight against. Under the pursuit of the Hyperion, the Arslan soldiers were soon sunk by the Hyperion, and the spaceships were destroyed under the pursuit of the Hyperion. The Hyperion continued to move forward. Soon, the Hyperion rushed to less than 2 kilometers away from the battleship where the soldiers of the Arslan Empire were riding. With a little more effort, the Hyperion could smash through the soldiers of the Arslan Empire. Aboard the spaceship. At this time, the soldiers of the Arslan Empire on the interstellar carrier felt a dangerous aura coming towards them, which made their hearts feel terrified. How could this be? This Hyperion attack is too powerful, our interstellar shells can't hurt it at all. An Arslan soldier looked at the interstellar cannonball in his hand with horror in his eyes. Boom boom boom. The power of the Hyperion is incomparable, and each cannonball can destroy several starships. The huge size of the Hyperion allowed it to easily avoid those shells, making them all missed. At this scene, the soldiers around were stunned. They were shocked by what was happening in front of them. How could it be? How could his battleship be so terrifying? They looked at Su Yan, their shocked minds blank. Damn it! Red's face was ashen. He didn't expect that Su Yan's strength was so strong. Stop him for me! Rex roared and shouted to the soldiers around him. Obey! The soldiers responded one after another. Immediately, they rushed towards Su Yan. Looking at the soldiers rushing towards him, Su Yan frowned, and he controlled the Hyperion, turning it quickly. The Hyperion is very fast and has a super anti-gravity system. Boom! A series of banging sounds came into the ears, and on the Hyperion, the muzzles of the guns kept spewing fire after another, constantly bombarding the soldiers who rushed up. Damn, how could his strength be so strong? Looking at Su Yan's tyrannical body, Red's face was ashen, and he couldn't imagine how Su Yan could be so strong. Although these soldiers are not weak, compared with Su Yan, the gap is too big. Shoot me and kill him. Redix roared and roared at the surrounding soldiers. Yes. Hearing his order, the soldiers nodded immediately, and then fired round after round of shells at the Hyperion. Those cannonballs, like a meteor shower, flew towards Su Yan, and the densely packed cannonballs covered the sky and the sun, like locusts, making people feel their scalp tingling. However, although these shells were dense and powerful, the Hyperion was able to evade easily. Su Yan was in control of the Hyperion, constantly dodging those shells, and he always kept a faint smile on his face. Do you think you can escape? Rex roared angrily and continued to shout at the surrounding soldiers, keep firing at me. Immediately, several hundred more guns and 140 rounds flew towards the Hyperion. Seeing the dense cannonballs attack, Su Yan frowned. He didn't expect that the soldiers of the Arslan Empire would be so difficult to deal with and would be so willing to attack him with cannonballs. It seems that, without giving them a little color, they really think that their interstellar overlord is easy to bully. Thinking of this, Su Yan didn't show any mercy. Shoot me! Su Yan roared and controlled the Hyperion to spin quickly, and then controlled the Hyperion to suddenly disappear from the spot and appear on the other side. Immediately, he controlled the Hyperion and kept walking between the battleships quickly. Those shells kept bombarding the Hyperion, blasting the Hyperion one after another, while Su Yan was standing safely on the deck, unscathed. Damn it! Seeing Su Yan's performance, Red's expression changed again and again. Damn, blow him to me, blow him to pieces. Redix roared, and he controlled his subordinates to fire frantically. These soldiers are all well-trained soldiers, they know how to fire, so the shells keep whistling. As soon as a cannonball went down, the surrounding battle area was a mess, as if it had been plowed once by the cannonball, devastated, and the scene was very tragic. Under the cover of artillery fire, Su Yan controlled the Hyperion, constantly wandering forward. They fired energy cannons frantically, but Su Yan's luck was good, he avoided the energy cannons again and again, so that the soldiers couldn't help Su Yan at all. The Hyperion was constantly shuttled, and those shells couldn't stop the Hyperion's progress. We can't go on like this, we must kill him, otherwise, our plan will be in vain. Rex looked at the roar of artillery fire around, his face became more and more gloomy. Your Majesty, what should I do? A soldier asked. Retreat first. Rex knew that he couldn't beat the Hyperion at all, and he couldn't deal with that person, so he could only choose to retreat and then think of other ways. When the soldiers heard Rex's words, they drove the interstellar battleship and flew towards the rear. Su Yan watched them want to leave, he sneered and controlled the Hyperion to chase after them. The soldiers fled quickly while dodging. Looking at the figures of those soldiers, a cold smile appeared on Su Yan's mouth. Want to escape? How can there be such an easy thing? As a roar sounded, I saw that he was controlling the Hyperion and slammed into a spaceship. Boom! Accompanied by a crisp sound, the interstellar battleship instantly turned into fragments, and then turned into a cloud of smoke and dissipated between the sky and the earth. Su Yan controlled the Hyperion to catch up, and another space battleship was blasted to pieces, and the soldiers on the space battleship were also crushed into powder by Su Yan's Hyperion, and disappeared without a trace. No trace. In a short period of time, more than 10 interstellar battleships were destroyed by Su Yan. Seeing this, Rex's face became abnormally pale. These soldiers are all elites that he cultivated at a huge cost. Now, Su Yan has destroyed them one by one. His heart aches. Looking at the Hyperion, he gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with resentment. Damn it, damn it. He clenched his fists and stared at Su Yan with red eyes, his eyes were full of murderous intent and hatred. I will tear you to pieces. He let out a low roar and steered the battleship to quickly fire energy cannons in the direction of Su Yan. Su Yan controls the Hyperion, moving quickly in the void. Under Su Yan's control, the Hyperion quickly avoided the Redix energy cannon. Boom boom boom. Another violent explosion sounded, and a bone-deep crack appeared on the surface of the Hyperion's hull again. Rex watched Su Yan control the Hyperion, and the anger in his eyes grew stronger. The defense of the Hyperion was very strong, but under the frenzied bombardment of these soldiers, cracks appeared. Damn, I will never let you go, keep bombarding me, don't stop. Boom boom boom. Under the urging of Redix, the soldiers bombarded frantically, and the artillery fire continued to bombard the Hyperion. This kind of attack lasted for half a minute before the Hyperion barely resisted these attacks. Damn humans. Just wait. Rex looked at everything around him, his face was ashen, and he stared at Su Yan through gritted teeth. Your Majesty Rex, what should we do? If we continue to fight like this, sooner or later we will be depleted of energy bullets by him, and then he will kill us. The soldiers next to him looked at Rex and said worriedly. Redix took a deep breath. He knew that his time was running out. If he didn't hurry up and wait until the energy bomb was exhausted, he would only be a dead word in the end. In that case, don't blame me for being rude. There was a hideous look on Rex's face, and his eyes were full of killing intent. Attention all personnel, prepare to fight. Yes. All personnel are ready to fight. Seeing the many soldiers around the Hyperion getting ready, Su Yan's mouth twitched into a smile, and then he controlled the Hyperion and rushed towards Redix. Get away from me. Boom. Rex watched the Hyperion rush towards him, his face was full of thick anger, and he controlled the interstellar battleship and slammed into the Hyperion violently. Boom. After a series of collisions, Rex's spaceship was smashed, and his chest was also severely injured, and blood continued to spurt from his mouth, staining his clothes. Looking at the terrifying defense of the Hyperion, he was terrified to the extreme, how this human being did it. His own interstellar battleship was unable to destroy the Hyperion, but instead seriously injured himself. On his starship, one of the soldiers watched Redex injured and worried, and they hurried to Redex to help him heal. Damn it! Redx's face was full of anger, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. Seeing Redex injured, a smile appeared on Suyan's face. He controlled the Hyperion, chasing and killing Redex's battleship all the way, no matter which battleship Redex was hiding in. Suyan can always find him. This time Suyan didn't plan to let Rex go. He must kill this guy, let him know, and provoke his own consequences. You are killing yourself. How powerful do you think your Hyperion is? I'll show you the true power of my warship. Rex's face was gloomy, and a cold light shot out from his eyes. Boom. Redex controlled the warship, get it, and kept bombarding the Hyperion. Instead of bombarding blindly like last time, the soldiers attacked the Hyperion with the artillery fire of the battleship. Rex's battleship, under his control, kept bombarding the Hyperion, but every time it was avoided by the Hyperion. I don't believe your defenses can be used without limit. Redex snorted coldly, and ordered the battleships to blast towards the Hyperion frantically. The Hyperion suffered a lot of damage under the frantic bombardment of Rex, but it still did not suffer fatal damage. Instead, it was Rex's battleship, which was bruised all over by the Hyperion's attack. Boom. No, if it goes on like this, I won't be able to hold on any longer. I must get rid of him as soon as possible. Rex's face was full of anxiety and panic. He controls the spaceship, constantly bombarding the Hyperion. No matter how he bombarded the Hyperion, he couldn't do much damage to the Hyperion, and even the Hyperion couldn't even cause damage, perfectly resisting his attack. The defense of the Hyperion was horrible. Damn it! Damn it, I'm going to tear you to pieces. Rex controls the interstellar battleship, and arranged a large number of energy beams and laser cannons on the outer layer of the interstellar battleship, preparing to completely destroy the Hyperion. Boom! One after another, energy beams and laser cannons were continuously launched towards the Hyperion. Although these laser cannons and energy cannons are not particularly powerful, they are superior in number and density. Once they hit the Hyperion will inevitably suffer serious losses. Ha ha ha, do you think you can still defeat our Hyperion? You are so naive, none of you will leave alive today. Redex controlled the battleship and attacked the Hyperion frantically. Your Majesty Rex, shall we retreat first? 140 soldiers watched Rex control the battleship to attack the Hyperion frantically, with worried expressions on their faces. If this continued, the Hyperion would definitely suffer. Retreat? Do you want me to lose my dignity? Redex immediately retorted when he heard the soldier's suggestion. AJ. No but. Rex interrupted him, his face was extremely gloomy, and the expression on his face was very ugly. He knew how powerful the Hyperion was, and if it continued like this, no matter how powerful his spaceship was, it wouldn't be able to hold up. All right. The soldier could only nod his head, and then he steered the spaceship to the other side. Boom. The shield on the Hyperion trembled violently. Under the attack of these energy beams and laser cannons, there have been many cracks on the Hyperion. It seems that in the next second, this super battleship will be destroyed by Redex. The starship of St. Andrews was penetrated. Damn it. What the hell is this monster? His defense is too terrifying, even if our spaceships bombard him with all their strength, they can't hurt him in the slightest. If this goes on, our spaceship will be damaged. Looking at the interior of the battleship, there were more and more energy beams and laser cannons, and the soldiers' faces were full of worry. They can clearly feel that the energy consumption inside the battleship is very fast, and this continuous consumption will soon consume all the energy. At that time, they will have nowhere to escape and can only wait for death to come. At this time, Su Yan controlled the Hyperion, dodging left and right to avoid the attacks of energy beams and laser cannons in a chaotic battlefield. Su Yan controls the Hyperion, moving constantly in the chaotic battlefield, keeping the energy beams and laser cannons from hitting him. The Hyperion is worthy of being a top technology, even in the melee. It did not affect its speed and defense in the slightest. The speed of the Hyperion was very fast, and the energy beams and laser cannons of Redex's space battleship could not help the Hyperion at all. They could only watch the Hyperion getting closer and closer, the farther away they were. Come closer. Rex was controlling the battleship and wanted to dodge. Rex found that the Hyperion was like candy, sticking tightly to his spaceship, and he couldn't get rid of the Hyperion no matter how much he shook it, which made him extremely annoyed. He controls the interstellar battleship, wandering non-stop in the chaotic battlefield. Rex steered the spaceship, avoiding Su Yan's Hyperion. He knew that the Hyperion was very strong, but he did not think that the main battery of the Hyperion, DBCG, could maintain such a powerful attack all the time. Attack efficiency. Although the Hyperion's attack is very powerful, it is impossible to keep the efficiency of the attack forever. After all, the Hyperion is not a permanent existence. Once the energy supply cannot keep up, the Hyperion will inevitably have problems. Boom. At this moment, Rex was controlling the interstellar battleship, and suddenly discovered that a large hole appeared in the energy shield inside their interstellar battleship, and an energy ball shot in from the big hole. Damn, the main gun of the Hyperion is actually so powerful. Redex's face became extremely ugly. Under his control, the interstellar battleship rushed forward a few steps, dodging the attack of the energy ball. At the same time, Redex controlled the interstellar battleship and moved towards Huber again. The Leon attacked. Boom boom boom. The energy cannon of the interstellar battleship slammed into the Hyperion again. Click. At this moment, the armor of the Hyperion suddenly heard a burst of clicking sounds, as if it could not withstand the attack of the spaceship. What happened? The armor is actually cracked? This is impossible. Hurry up, keep attacking. Seeing this, Rex was overjoyed. He controlled the battleship and continued to attack the Hyperion violently. Under the attack of energy beams and laser cannons, those cracks on the Hyperion became more and more, and as time went on, those cracks became more and more, and finally they all collapsed. The energy beams and laser cannon attacks on the Hyperion were all in vain. At this moment, a huge energy ball flew out from the attack of the energy beam and the laser cannon again, and attacked the spaceship of Redex. Redex controlled the battleship and had to dodge the attack of the energy ball. Boom. At this moment, the interstellar battleship suddenly exploded. The energy cannon instantly turned into flames that filled the sky, and Rex's body fell to the ground from the explosion of the interstellar battleship. His Majesty. Seeing that Rex was hit by the energy explosion, many soldiers were shocked. His Majesty. Your Majesty, are you all right? They all ran up to help Rex, and said with worry on their faces. Humph. You dare to attack me, you're really courting death. Seeing that the clothes on his body were tattered, his hair was messy, and he was in a mess, Rex's face was full of anger. Your Majesty, the Hyperion's combat power is too strong, and we are not his opponents. We might as well surrender. Yes. The combat power of the Hyperion is really too powerful. After hearing this, Rex was even more unwilling. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.